Quite a challenge to always work on your events, to change perspectives, to build your program a better way, to adapt new technologies, and just don't try to build like a new status quo.
Welcome to the Convene podcast. My name is Magdalina Atanassova, Convene's digital media editor and your host today. I'm happy to welcome you to another episode from our series where we bring together the perspectives of different generations on hot industry topics. In this episode, we try to look into the future of conferences and events together with Felix Willert, Head of Events at Innovate, and Christine Hense, member of the Executive Board, Director, People and Operations at Interplan. We talked about all things creativity, time, resources, and AI at events, and where are the hidden opportunities for the future. Enjoy the episode. Welcome to both of you to the Convene podcast. It's a pleasure having you here. Let's start with some brief introductions. Felix, I'll start with you. Can you tell us a bit more about yourself, your background, and how many years you've been in the industry?
Sure. I'm working in the industry for roughly 9 years now. I'm the head of marketing and events at Seedhouse, which is a startup accelerator in Germany. We are taking care of startups in the fields of food, agriculture, and digital technologies. And we are hosting several events, especially the conference Innovate, which is taking care of all the innovative, future-orientated topics, especially, of course, startups from farm to fork, basically.
Wonderful. Christine?
Thank you for inviting me. I'm Christine Hense. I'm with the industry since 25 years now, and I'm with Interplan in Munich. We are a PCO and taking care of medical and scientific congresses in Germany and all over Europe in different sizes. And we are a full-service PCO and serving clients and helping them to communicate, collaborate, and serving their delegates and their members.
Awesome. You both cover a very wide area in the industry. Are you more worried or more excited about the future? Christine, let's start with you.
Absolutely more excited. I mean, there are a lot of challenges out there for all of us, but I believe in the relevance of meetings, also of face-to-face meetings. I mean, we did it the digital way as we had to, but it's proved that there's a big value in people meeting, people sharing experiences, and people learning together. And therefore, for our business, I'm excited for the future, but still there are a lot of tasks that we have to look into.
Couldn't agree actually more on that, because when I'm looking back in time, like during my studies at university, we were talking a lot about, okay, our in-person events are going to be replaced by digital ones. And it was like the future-oriented, well, we could do that. It's possible, and maybe future generations would adapt to that and would like it. But then after COVID, we know what you just said. There's so much value in having people on site and in meeting in person, and that we know, okay, digital is a tool. We can use it for specific events, if it's like a webinar or like a short introduction, or for meetings, like usual business meetings, talking about sales. Mm-hmm. And that works perfectly fine. But we know that people love to meet on site. They need to catch up. They need the personal hug, the personal touch. So it's a great future. I think we are going to change the way conferences will look in the future. To me, it's a lot about values. Value is why we meet in person. And I think we can't do it the way we did it the last 20 years. We need to source new ideas, change the look and feel of the conferences. Mm-hmm. How people gain knowledge, how people get together. It's going to be more interactive, I think.
Yeah.
That's what we are trying to do, to bring people together, to do it, Pcma style, to exchange ideas and just don't have like a written agenda for all the sessions we have. Mm-hmm. Give the attendees the room to explore themselves, to explore the topics, whatever they want to do.
Yeah. Pcma style and the involvement of delegates or of participants is great, but this is not in the experience with the medical and scientific. There still the content is prepared, but the formats start to get different. So that starts with room setups. We use a lot of technical solutions, as I said. Digital tools are in the conferences to support engagement. Congress organizers, they try to put more focus on the individual needs of their delegates, which is more than only the content. It's also the way the content is delivered. Also what happens pre- and post-conference. There are certain aspects that they get more and more weight in organizing and setting up programs. Absolutely. So it's not that open when we talk about program building, but still there is a lot of development and a lot of dynamic in there. We are more and more in a partner role with our client to serve those needs.
So it's more about consulting than just trying to make this event alive.
Yes.
So you're building it together, not like for the client, but you're actually
We're doing it
partnering
together.
up.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And that's actually what we experience ourselves. So we are partnering with different associations to build our program. So we're trying to bring all the industry associations together because they know the best what is interesting in their field.
And what about, because we were speaking about creating programs that are more integrated and welcoming for everybody, would you include in that also different groups of people, meaning having conferences more accessible? Is that something that you believe is going to become a natural part of the future of conferences that we will see more of? There's a lot of discussion right now, but I'm not sure how much we're seeing in practice. So what do you both think?
You name it. There is a lot of discussion about it, but I think it's still an issue that is not addressed properly. There is a lot of action taken in terms of engagement, for example. Digital tools make it easier to engage. Also for introverts, when I have an app for voting, polling, for asking questions, this is helpful for people who don't like to speak up. But still really creating congresses in a more inclusive way, I think this is still a way we need to go. And there are really few conferences who have this in mind.
Felix, what do you think? What have you seen?
I absolutely agree on that. So we can absolutely do more to be more inclusive, to open our conferences, our events to people with special needs. I think it's always about the community. Like, are you more business orientated? Are you more social orientated? I think that this is, for now, the main thing if your conference is going to be inclusive or not. So if you're like 100% into business and it's 100% sales orientated, inclusivity is not as big topic as if we are talking about a public event hosted by a social club or like a state or whatever.
Which is strange, isn't it? It doesn't make much of a business sense to exclude a big part of the audience, right? Because we just don't know. Sometimes when we speak about accessibility, DE&I, for example, there are many visible characteristics of people that we can judge them on, but then there's so many that they're hidden, right? It's just an interesting conversation to be thinking of when we speak about the future of conferences.
Yeah. Absolutely, I agree. We should. This is when it comes to those special kind of events you are doing, also we are doing, then we think we know, so we know our target group, but on this point we don't know them really. So there is room to improve, I'm sure, and to.
Yeah. And what about after the pandemic now? There seems for a lot of conferences there are more first-time delegates versus return delegates, probably because they change jobs or other reasons. So how do you make the programs, because you already talked about that, but how do you make the programs more catered for these first-timers when they come?
You mean content-wise or conceptual?
Everything. How do they behave? Especially we know there's more Gen Z entering now the industry as attendees. So how do we welcome all these new people?
So in our field, we start to communicate much more pre-event. So the event or the Congress itself can be seen as a part of an ongoing communication cycle, maybe around a year from the association to their delegates or also to their, to the people in their fields, even if they are not member of an association. And so a lot of concrete information creates expectations for the meeting, which I find is really important. And as we see it here, allowing networking prior a conference, I find this is really helpful. And what we also see in the medical congress, because this field really suffers of the lack of young people who want to enter and do these jobs, and therefore the associations do a lot for next generations. There are certain days of educations that are focusing on them, for example, or also different events, different setups of sessions. We sit in other room setups, doing a bar camp session. So in these small fields, then things like these happen.
We are actually, by now, are not doing any special things about first-timers. So what you just said, we are trying to communicate way more, but not only for first-timers, but for all of them. So we're trying to build a community up front to bring them together. So we are having a small exclusive event up front where we start to build a community on the day before the event. It's not for first-timers, like special for first-timers, but for many of them to gain a special feel and to get them prepared, basically.
Switching things. So do you think in the next 2 years there will be more collaborations forming in the industry? Could be in the forms of co-locating events or just other partnerships?
From the supplier side, this already happens. CVBs, venues, cities, they are joining forces to provide really good bids to bring congresses in their cities. Also, within the technical part of organizing events, we see this a lot, that there's really a lot of collaboration because the needs so differentiated that often there is not only one supplier who can serve all the needs. Therefore, from the supplier side, this is something like common sense from my point of view. We are also partnering within the business, so this meeting is also a good example for exchange. And I think also for the associations, for the smaller ones especially, it absolutely makes sense to think about partnering.
And I think when we are talking about resources, it's another big topic why we should join forces, either on supplier sides or associations as well. So suppliers are suffering because it's quite hard to get more employees. Some are more successful, some are not, to have a great team. And so it's quite easy to say, well, of course we are competitors, but if we join forces, work together on different events, like we're doing the bigger ones together and the smaller ones, you just do it by yourself, that's fine. You're way more successful and you're capable to work on bigger events even though you don't have the resources.
Absolutely. Also when you see it, so in the medical fields, there are a lot of, so also in the hospital, the doctors are working together and a different perspective from another field could be extremely valuable for the audience.
Yeah. I like how you just wrap very different worlds together into collaboration. But yeah, the future, we have to indeed share resources more because they're limited. So looking ahead, what do you think will be the most significant challenges and opportunities for conferences? Felix, you want to start?
Can I say no? So the biggest challenge is, I think, quite a challenge to always work on your events, to change perspectives, to build your program a better way, to adapt new technologies, and just don't try to build like a new status quo. So we just have like a successful concept that works maybe 1 or 2 years, and then just being lazy and say, well, it worked. Why shouldn't we do it for the next 10 years? That is what we did in the past. And I think now we know that we need to rebuild our conferences year by year and to question ourselves the way we did things, and that on a regular basis. And I think this is what needs resources, creativity, and a lot of time. So when we're talking about AI, making us more efficient, it's a great chance to use the time we receive by being more efficient to put it into that, to rethink our conferences.
But that's where the opportunities are, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I absolutely agree on this. So for such a long time in the business, so we definitely need to speed up everybody. The dynamic was huge during the pandemic, and we all can be happy that this ended. But back to normal is not, or back to what is normal. Normal is not what happened until 2020. So I think the dynamic is going on and on and on. And I absolutely agree with you that we are all asked to not only to react, but more to act and to provide concepts that delegates and associations can take advantage of.
We have a bright future ahead of us, summarizing all you said so far. But how do you prepare yourselves and your teams to just keep on being ahead of the curve, right? Because everything, as you just said, constantly changes.
Yeah, that's definitely the harder part of this. So as we are used to do things like we did them for really a lot of years, I think there is the wish to go back to those comfortable times. But we need to develop our staff, we need to train and take our teams with us to enable them to go this dynamic path and to feel themselves like a consultant or more than a partner, because all the basic services, I would call it, so registration, hotel bookings, and all those logistic things, these are things that might be supported by AI, by more digital tools, but creativity is what we can bring in, and good solutions and flexibility. And this is a development we have to undergo, and this will challenge our teams for sure. And it's not comfortable.
I agree on that. So for me, one thing is education. As you just said, there are so many things out there we need to learn to make our teams comfortable with tech, especially talking about AI. Or there was a session talking about AI. The room was like fully flooded with people, and it was not the main stage. So everybody wants to know, what is AI about? How can I use it? Because it's just a great tool. And maybe the tech-oriented people are fine with that, but we have people in our team that don't know how to use it. They are afraid of, and we have to make sure that they don't think that they are going to being replaced by AI or something like that. So it's a chance for all of us. And the other thing is that we have to change our culture in terms of, is it allowed to make mistakes? So as we try to be more flexible and efficient and try to adapt to new technologies, we always have to implement new things to our conferences. So new means our team hasn't done it before, or maybe just heard about that, but we won't do it perfect the first time, maybe not the second time. So it should be allowed to bring in new ideas, to talk about that, maybe implement that on the next conference, and then you'll see, have we been successful implementing that? Did our attendees like what we did or not? And then you go on. And if they don't like it, well, you won't do it next year.
Try something else. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And also challenging, I mean, this is the topic that we all need to think about, is the saving of resources and sustainability. Congresses are there just for really a very tight period of time, but we are using huge amounts of materials. When you think about the big exhibition halls, when they dismantle, then you have containers full of stuff that goes away, food waste. There are a lot of energy. There are so many aspects that we really have to think about very consciously, and we need to address it in a way and really find solutions.
Talking about sustainability, I think we already experience a change of mindset. You don't expect that you have always a brand new carpet. Sometimes it's absolutely okay to have like the usual floor that the location has for you. So you don't have to pay for that, one thing, and you don't have all the waste after that.
Yeah.
It's just one thing. And you don't expect to have, I don't know, that much meat So it's okay to have like a vegetarian buffet. It's okay to have water, big bottles, and it's not about small, tiny ones. So if we talk about sustainability, I think it should be one thing within every decision we do. Is it the most sustainable decision we can make? Mm-hmm. Or is there any other way to have the same result, but more sustainable?
Yeah, absolutely.
And if we question that, like within every decision-making process, it's going to be better and better every time.
Yeah, I fully agree, but this has to be implemented.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it needs a little bit of time.
Yeah.
But if we all agree on that, to me, it feels like we're going more and more in the right direction.
Yeah, but it's something that is urgent.
Absolutely.
So we need results on that. Therefore, I think
it's not a topic. It's not a topic for the next 10 years.
Exactly. We need to do it now. Yeah.
Not anymore. It used to be.
Yeah, the last 10 years.
Yeah.
But now we have to act.
Wrapping this conversation up, was there anything that we didn't address and we should have addressed?
I think there are so many different topics.
We can stay for another hour.
Yeah, no, I think we had most of the points that to me are relevant, talking about how the future of our business, like conferences, will look like and how we could adapt to that.
Yeah, same for me. So we can sit here for another hour or two if coffee or wine is served.
Absolutely.
But we have a bright future. You said it, and there's a lot of opportunity.
Wonderful. I like wrapping things with this nice ping ball. So thank you very much for being on the podcast.
Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed this podcast and would like to hear more, please subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you would like additional perspectives on the industry, check out pcma.org/convene. Until next time.